Real Madrid needs to learn from yet another heartbreaking loss this season, this time against Milan in the Champions League. In this video, you'll discover three problems that are hurting Real Madrid. How could the current European champion of Spain have such a drastic decline in performance in such a short period of time? Real Madrid has had a difficult few weeks, especially in light of the fact that they have lost two significant home games against formidable opponents in the last 2 weeks. First, they were shocked by their fierce rival Barcelona's 40-point thumping in La Liga, and yesterday in the Champions League, they had the opportunity to turn things around. But Carlo Ancelotti's team lost again. Let's examine the three primary causes of this decline in performance from one season to the next, starting with the number one injuries. Real Madrid lost 3-1 in a game that might have easily resulted in a 4 or 5 goal loss because of the defensive system's general weakness. Real Madrid is not an exception to the rule that when important players are injured, it clearly affects the team's performance. At this stage of the season, Real Madrid is dealing with two major injuries in their defensive line, the first of which is goalkeeper CTOA, of whom you have probably lost count of the number of times the Belgian goalkeeper has saved Real Madrid in games. However, Lonin is unable to save Real Madrid in situations where CTOA would normally be able to. And this is becoming increasingly obvious. In addition to the Courtois injury, Real Madrid has also suffered another significant loss this season due to a serious knee injury to their right back. Aside from these serious injuries, Real Madrid has also had to cope with minor absences throughout the season, such as a minor injury to Rodrigo and a minor injury to Bellingham. Dani Carvajal, who is an excellent and dependable defender who always puts in the work in defense, committing essential fouls, taking responsibility, leading the team, and serving as captain, is suddenly playing in place of Lucas Vazquez, who is far from Carvajal's defensive level, which aside from Alaba's injuries from the previous season, have steadily weakened the club and disturbed the player's rhythm. Despite this, he is unquestionably a talented player who, with these absences, might have essentially strengthened Real Madrid's defensive system. Here's a breakdown of Real Madrid's 18 goals let up in just 16 games this season. 7 of those goals came in the final 2 games, including 4 against Barcelona and 3 against Milan. Another major reason for Real Madrid's decline in performance from the previous season to the current one is Toni Kroos's retirement. I don't even need to explain the significance of German midfielder. Toni Kroos's early and unexpected retirement in terms of quality. He was an outstanding passer who was proficient at free kicks, effective with set pieces, and possessed incredible vision, which allowed him to control Real Madrid's ball distribution and greatly bolster the defense despite his experience. Kroos's retirement allowed him to position himself quite effectively on the field. Champions, a young French midfielder, has had more chances this season to take over Kroos's position because Real Madrid didn't sign anyone to replace him. Although Champions is a player with different characteristics, more physically strong than technically skilled, his performances thus far have been far from satisfactory. In fact, it appears that he is feeling the pressure of filling Kroos's shoes as he frequently fails in defensive coverage, particularly during ball distribution. Naturally, this is having an impact on Real Madrid's game, as the team isn't improving in the same way in both attack and defense. To give you an idea, it's hard to even think about finding a player with comparable skills to replace Toni Kroos, who is sorely missed. Champions has received harsh criticism for his recent performances from the Spanish press, includes the game against Milan yesterday. Any team would miss a player of Toni Kroos's caliber, so I don't think this problem is exclusive to Real Madrid. The reality is that Real Madrid hasn't yet figured out how to adjust without him, according to Ancelotti. Milan's expertise and vision allow me to use his second goal as an example. A player like Toni Kroos has a very different ability to make decisions. He knows which passes are worth the risk, which are not, and which ball, if intercepted, could endanger his team. Kroos would never have made the pass that Champions made at the beginning of the play, which allowed the ball to reach Rafael Leão, who shot at Lunin and Morata scored. Kroos's departure has been one of the primary causes of Real Madrid's decline. Number 3. Mbappe was undoubtedly Real Madrid's biggest acquisition this season. A World Cup star, he was brought in to be the final touch for Real Madrid, but thus far, the results have been the opposite of what was anticipated. Although Mbappe has scored 8 goals and provided 2 assists in 15 games, Real Madrid hasn't performed any better than expected because Mbappe is inherently more individualistic and does not contribute defensively. The team has struggled since his arrival. In modern football, attackers are also expected to help, at least with the initial pressing acting as the first barrier in defense. Since his arrival, Mbappe has disappointed both individually and collectively, missing numerous Chinese, particularly against and, like at PSG, Mbappe hasn't embraced this role. The main reason Mbappe's presence has had a detrimental effect on Real Madrid is tactical. Following Benzema's move to Al-Ahly in Saudi Arabia, Real Madrid played with only 2 attackers and 4 midfielders last season, none of whom was a real center forward. Real Madrid didn't acquire any players with comparable attributes. Thus, Vinicius Jr. was the attacker from the previous season. Rodrigo and he are both playing wide. The midfield was usually made up of Bellingham, Valverde, Cruz, and Kaminga, who reinforced both defense and attack with Mbappe's arrival. This arrangement gave Jude Bellingham, a midfielder, the freedom to surprise and attack and score frequently, while strengthening the midfield defensively by having more players in the area. Real Madrid has relied on a system with 3 midfielders, weakening the defensive structure to play with 3 attackers, Mbappe, Vinicius, Rodrigo, and others, because it was expected that a player of his caliber would not be a substitute. Bellingham has been greatly impacted by this move, as they no longer have the same flexibility to advance, and defensive coverage in the midfield has been hampered. Additionally, some of Mbappe's choices have been regrettable. Despite his speed, he has positioned himself poorly, especially against Barcelona, where his impatience resulted in 8 offsides in the game. Nevertheless, I think Real Madrid can still turn things around and win titles this season because they have a capable coach. At times, he has a clear pass but fails to make it, and at other times, he tries an individual move and fails frequently, leading to offside calls and a top-tier team. But for the time being, these 3 factors are having a significant negative impact on the team's development. If Real Madrid doesn't address these problems quickly, they might have to play a tough opponent in the Champions League stage that they won't be able to defeat, and by then, it might be too late. I'd like to know if you agree that the 3 factors I mentioned in this video are having a negative impact on Real Madrid and the team. If you liked the video, please like, subscribe to the channel, share, and leave a comment.